When I opened that dusty box in my grandmother's attic, I never imagined my life would change forever. What was inside wasn't just an object. It was a deadly secret our family had kept for decades. And now, finally, I'm going to reveal everything. It was a cold Sunday morning when I got the call. My grandmother had passed away during the night, in silence, just as she had always lived. At 92 years old, she left taking with her stories no one knew, memories she never shared. Or at least that's what I thought. 3 days after the funeral, my mother asked me to go to Grandma Clara's old house and start organizing her belongings. The house smelled of mothballs and forgotten memories. Each room was a time capsule, frozen in the 50s. China in the cabinet, crocheted tablecloths on the furniture, black and white photographs on the walls. Everything exactly as it had always been. It all started in the attic. A forbidden place throughout my entire childhood. Grandma Clara never allowed anyone to climb those creaking stairs. She said it was dangerous, that the floor could give way, that there were rats and insects. But I knew there was something more. I always knew. The way her eyes filled with panic every time someone mentioned the attic was revealing. That fear wasn't about rats. It was about something much darker. The stairs groaned under my weight as I climbed. With each step, my heart raced. I pushed open the trapdoor and a cloud of dust fell on me. The dim afternoon light came through a small window covered with cobwebs, creating golden rays that cut through the darkness. The attic was smaller than I imagined. Stacked cardboard boxes, a headless mannequin covered by a sheet, old suitcases with tags from trips that never happened. And there, in the darkest corner, underneath a faded green military blanket, was it. The box. It wasn't an ordinary box. It was made of dark wood, almost black, with hand-carved details. Rusty metal locks on both sides. Heavy. Very heavy for its size. When I pulled it, something moved inside. A muffled, metallic sound. My stomach contracted. I placed the box on the floor and looked for a key. Nothing. I searched the pockets of the military coat hanging nearby. Nothing. That's when I saw it. Attached to the bottom of the box with time-yellowed adhesive tape, a small golden key. My hands trembled as I inserted it into the lock. The mechanism resisted for a moment, decades of rust protesting. Then, with a dull click, the box opened. And what I saw inside made me recoil. My brain took a few seconds to process. That couldn't be real. But it was. Inside the box were stacks and stacks of money. Old bills, some I didn't even recognize. Dollars, cruzeros, even some gold coins. But that wasn't all. Underneath the money, carefully wrapped in red velvet, was a revolver. A heavy weapon with a short barrel and a wooden handle worn from use. Beside it, photographs. Dozens of them. And when I looked at those images, I felt the ground disappear beneath my feet. The photographs showed my grandmother. But not the Grandma Clara I knew, the gentle lady who made cookies and embroidered pillows. These photos showed a different woman. Young, wearing elegant 40s clothing, alongside men in suits. Men I recognized from history books. Men linked to organized crime. One photo in particular froze my blood. My grandmother, no more than 25 years old, standing in front of a clandestine casino, holding that same revolver, with a smile that mixed defiance and danger. I sat on the dusty floor, unable to move. Who was this woman? I picked up the photographs with trembling hands and examined them one by one. There were documents too. False identities. Passports with different names. Maria Santos. Helena Costa. Ana Oliveira. All with her photo. And then I found the diary. A brown leather notebook, with yellowed pages and delicate cursive handwriting that I recognized immediately. It was hers. I opened to the first page and read. The words danced before my eyes. March 15, 1942. Today I killed a man for the first time. I felt no remorse. He deserved it. They all deserve it. My heart raced. I kept reading, page after page, and each word revealed a secret world that existed parallel to the life I knew. My grandmother wasn't just an ordinary lady. She had been a spy. A hired assassin. A woman involved in secret operations during World War II. The notes were meticulous. Dates, names, locations. She worked for a clandestine group that eliminated Nazi collaborators in Brazil. The officially neutral country in the early years of the war hid cells of Axis sympathizers. And there were people, like my grandmother, willing to do the dirty work the government couldn't publicly assume. She seduced targets, infiltrated social circles, gained trust. And then, at the right moment, eliminated the threat. Cold. Calculating. Lethal. A diary entry dated June 1943 described in detail how she poisoned a German businessman during a dinner in São Paulo. He was financing subversive activities, providing funds for groups planning sabotage at Brazilian ports. My grandmother, using the false name Helena Costa, managed to approach him through social contacts. For 3 weeks, she built a relationship of trust. And then, on a full moon night, she added arsenic to his favorite port wine. He died in agony 2 hours later. No one suspected anything. There was more. Much more. Stories of chases through the dark streets of Rio de Janeiro. Shootouts at abandoned docks. Interrogations in secret basements. My grandmother had lived a double life so dangerous and cinematic it seemed straight out of a film noir. And during all those years, while raising my uncles, while making Sunday lunches, while embroidering and smiling sweetly at the neighbors, she carried these secrets locked not just in that box, but in her soul. I found a letter. It had no date, but seemed recent. Written in the same handwriting, but trembling, aged. It was addressed to me. My dear grandson, if you're reading this, it means I've departed. And it also means it's time for you to know the truth. I know you'll be shocked. I know you'll question everything you thought you knew about me. But I need you to understand. I did what I did because it was necessary. Because someone had to do it. The world was on fire and I had the skills to put out some of the most dangerous blazes. I don't regret it. Every life I took saved dozens, perhaps hundreds of others. But I lived with the weight of those decisions every day. The money in this box is dirty. It's payment for jobs no one can ever know about. Use it as you wish, but know where it came from. The gun is loaded. It always was. It was my companion. My guarantee of survival. Now it's yours, along with this burning truth. Tears began rolling down my face before I realized it. They weren't tears of sadness or shock. They were of something more complex. Admiration mixed with horror. Love mixed with fear. Who was this woman who hugged me when I had nightmares? Who taught me to make bread? Who cried at my wedding? The hands that stroked my hair were the same ones that wielded that weapon. The gentle eyes that looked at me with affection were the same ones that saw men die by her hand. I continued reading the diary. There was a disturbing entry from December 1944. She described a target she couldn't eliminate. A young man, no more than 20 years old, son of a German diplomat. He was running messages between Nazi cells. My grandmother followed him for weeks. Learned his routine. Discovered that he played piano, that he visited his sick mother every Friday, that he was afraid of storms. And when the time came to execute him, she couldn't. For the first and only time, her hand hesitated. She wrote that she saw herself in that young man. Young, scared, trapped in something bigger than him. She let him live. And 3 months later, he was killed by another agent. She carried that guilt for the rest of her life. Inside the box there were also medals. Not official medals, but small tokens of recognition from organizations that didn't even exist in official records. There was a silver brooch with an inscription in Latin that I couldn't translate. There was a commemorative coin from a successful operation in 1943. And there were photographs of people she saved. Jewish families who managed to escape through routes she helped keep safe. Smiling children who never knew who the mysterious woman was that guaranteed their survival. The moral complexity of it all crushed me. Was my grandmother a hero or an assassin? Or both? Or neither? She did terrible things in the name of a greater good. Killed to save. Lied to protect. Lived in the shadows so others could live in the light. And for decades, she carried that weight alone, never being able to share, never being able to publicly redeem herself, never receiving recognition or forgiveness. I looked at the pile of money. There was easily the equivalent of thousands of dollars in current values. Blood money. But also money that could do good now. Could help organizations fighting injustice. Could finance education. Could somehow balance the karmic scale my grandmother left unbalanced. Or would it just be a way for me to feel better about the horrible truth I had just discovered? I picked up the gun. It was heavier than it looked. The cold metal in my hand sent a shiver down my spine. That gun had stories. It had memories engraved in each scratch on its barrel. I thought about how many times my grandmother held it exactly like this. In how many moments her life depended on that piece of metal and engineering. The gun wasn't good or bad. It was just a tool. Just as she had been a tool of greater forces during the war. I returned to the diary. The last entries were from 1950. She described how she left that life behind. How she met my grandfather, a simple and honest man who never suspected her past. How she decided she had spilled enough blood. How she learned to fake normalcy so well that it eventually almost became real. But not completely. Never completely. She wrote, "I can pretend to be an ordinary housewife. I can smile at Sunday barbecues and gossip at the market. But at night, when I close my eyes, I see their faces. All of them. And I know that when I leave, I'll take these ghosts with me." I realized then that the forbidden attic wasn't about hiding objects. It was about maintaining a safe distance between who she was and who she needed to pretend to be. That space was the only part of the house where she was still herself. Where Clara, the secret agent, still existed. It was her sanctuary and her prison. The weight of that discovery made me sit down again. I thought about all the times I complained that she was distant. That she didn't open up. That she had that empty look sometimes, as if she were somewhere else. Now I understood. She was always somewhere else. Trapped between two worlds. Between two identities. Between the loving grandmother and the professional assassin. I began to question everything. That time a stranger appeared at the door and she dismissed him quickly, with a hard look I had never seen before. Was it someone from the past? Those mysterious trips she took alone when I was a child, saying she was visiting friends. Were they meetings with former colleagues? That car accident that almost killed her in the 80s. Was it really an accident? The layers of mystery multiplied. Every memory now had double meaning. Inside the box, at the bottom, I found one last item. An envelope sealed with red wax. Inside it, a single photograph and a sheet of paper. The photo showed 5 young women, all elegantly dressed, in front of what appeared to be a theater. On the back, handwritten. The Golden Five. Rio de Janeiro, 1943. Operation Butterfly. My grandmother was in the center, with that same dangerous smile. The paper contained names and addresses. Current addresses. The other 4 women. All still alive. All over 90 years old now. A note said, "If you want to know more, they can tell you the rest of the story. But be careful. Knowing the complete truth has a price." I put everything back in the box. I closed it carefully and carried it downstairs. I placed it in the trunk of my car, covered by a blanket. The entire way home, my mind was churning. I had in my hands not just a family secret, but a lost piece of Brazilian history. Stories that were never told. Anonymous heroines who saved lives while taking others. Women who made impossible choices in impossible times. Arriving home, I placed the box in my own attic. And there it remains to this day. I still haven't decided what to do with it. Part of me wants to burn everything. Erase this dark past and leave the memory of Grandma Clara, the sweet lady of cookies and embroidery, intact. But another part knows these stories deserve to be told. That these women deserve recognition, even decades after their actions. That heroism isn't always clean and glorious. Sometimes it's dirty, complicated, and haunted. What I discovered in that attic changed my life because it changed my understanding of everything. About good and evil. About family and secrets. About the price some people pay so others can live in peace. My grandmother wasn't a saint or a demon. She was human. Complex. Imperfect. Doing the best she could with the impossible cards life dealt her. And even now, years later, I still wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, thinking about her. Thinking about the courage she needed to have. The weight she carried. The loneliness of living with secrets that could destroy everything she built. If you also have an old box in your family's attic, maybe it's time to open it. Because inside it might be not just forgotten objects, but truths that transform everything you thought you knew. And these truths, no matter how frightening they may be, are part of who we are. They're the shadows that give depth to our history. They're the secrets that make us human.